Good morning, Lucy.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm awesome. Thank you so much for joining us again.
Thanks for having me again. Yeah.
No problem. You know everybody loves to hear from you.
Oh my
So I've got a question. You look great.
Thank you.
What's your morning
You too.
routine? How did you get here with two little ones? Is it like 4 a.m.?
It is. I wish it was 4 a.m. Nobody wanted to wake up this morning because of the weekend. Nobody wanted to wake up. So, between getting lunches ready, getting myself ready, putting my lashes on. I put them on for you guys this time around, but I put my lashes on. Yeah. Between doing my hair very quickly, with a dog all over you and a toddler all over you.
Frenchies.
Yeah, Frenchie, he's wild. And
So do you get up first and do you get up earlier than your whole family?
So I'm a night owl. So the problem is I go to bed late. I'm
Same.
very productive very late at night. So I
Yeah.
get a lot of stuff done. So a lot of times people will see me posting at night because I'm with clients all day during the day. And then at night is when I do all my, mostly it starts when my toddler's in the bed. And that's when I start creating my posts, all that stuff, answer messages.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then I'm late at night. Then it's hard for me to wake up in the morning. And then I'm all upset with everyone because I'm the first one who has to be up. Meanwhile, they all slept maybe 2 hours earlier than me. So nobody wants to get up in the morning and it's just go, 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 go.
So when you get up, just for example, do you start work or do you start your personal day? Like, do you shower? Do you?
So
People want to know, believe it or not. They actually want to
know.
They actually want to know because it's funny when I had my three little ones under the age of 4, I would show up, hair done, makeup done, clean clothes, and people would be like in their husband's, oversized shirt with gray track pants, hair up, sleep in their eye, barf down one side, breast milk on this side. And they'd be like, how do you do it? And I'm like, you just do.
So
I get up early. I used to always get up early. That was my thing.
You're lucky you can get up early. No, I have to shower late at night when everyone's sleeping. Like right before I shower and I go straight to bed. So I like to feel clean when I go to bed all the time. And I don't wear deodorant at night. So I wear natural deodorant during the day. I know it's too much information, but
not really.
I wear natural deodorant during the day, and then at night I want to be without any deodorant. So imagine without any deodorant for all those hours while you sleep. I think it is important, right? Especially for women's hormones and whatnot. So I like to be clean. I go to bed, and in the morning, I wash my face, I freshen up, all that stuff, and then I hot iron my hair, and sometimes I get it good.
But nobody's up at this time.
Everybody's up. Everyone's up. We're all. It's a zoo.
Up.
They're all there's it's like have a roller in one hair, and someone's coming in to use a washroom, or curler in one hair, and someone's screaming that they need something for breakfast, or milk.
Dogs
or
running around.
Yeah, my dog is super hyper first thing in the morning. He's not. Some French bulldogs, they're foodies. Mine's not. Mine would rather you could play with him for hours and he won't even think about food.
Wow.
Yeah, he has his my old Cabbage Patch doll, and that's his girlfriend. We call him his girlfriend.
I love that.
And so he just runs around with his girlfriend. He whacks her head by the hair and stuff, and it's if you were to see my house, if I had a camera crew in my house, they would be entertained 24/7. Between me and my husband cracking jokes, and my kids and stuff, and my dog, it's like a
So we're
comedy
going
show.
to be doing the next podcast 5 a.m. at Lucy's house before everybody's up.
We're sleeping at 5 a.m. We get up when the alarm. So my alarm goes off, and it's 45 minutes of the alarm going off. It's so bad.
It's so bad. And they say that that's your first win. If you can get out of bed the second the alarm goes off.
I don't hear it.
I'm same. I have 7 alarms that go off from 4:45 a.m. And it's I know one of the 7 will wake me up, so I'm up early.
That's
but
good.
No, but I'm the same as you. I'm most productive in the evening.
I do everything. I've been this way for pretty much all my life. So I do most of my stuff in the evening. I like quiet. I need quiet. And the thing is, I have a toddler. So
I was just going to say, quiet toddler, Frenchie, husband, 2 kids. That doesn't happen.
No.
Unless, like you said, that's when my day starts, when everybody's asleep. And I'm like, you get to exhale.
You can exhale and relax. And what was I going to say? Yeah, this morning I woke up and I was quiet because my toddler's been sleeping in our bed. I know, it's terrible, but Eventually she snuggles and everything, and then whatever. But anyways, I got out of the bed. She sat up right away. Where you go? And I said, I'm going to the washroom. No, you come here. And I said, Mommy's got to go to the washroom. You can be okay. She goes, I get up. And she jumps up. And so I can't do stuff in the morning. You know how some people like to work out? They have kids like, yeah, mommy's working out. Like this one would scream her head off while I'm working out in the morning.
Oh, that is so funny.
The best time is really late at night. I get my stuff done. I shower. I do my face routine and all that stuff. Morning and obviously night as well too. But I can't do much until me and my husband say, just got to be a little bit older. Like every day it's like, she's getting a little bit better.
I got to be honest with you. Second child syndrome. I'm also a second child, so I get it. Yeah. And it does not get better.
No.
It does not get
better.
Thanks
for making me feel better.
You're welcome. Just keep hoping for the next day. And it's funny because people who have kids that are older, they're like, you're going to miss this. You know, there's
Everybody
that song.
Says that.
You're going to want this
I'm like,
back.
No.
And I'm like, no. I'm not. Not that it gets easier as they get into teenagers.
I hear bigger kids, bigger 20s, problems.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, which brings me to a question that everybody wants to know. Okay. Who is the most influential person in your life that's here on earth?
Oh my God, that's here on earth. Okay, so you're not talking about like Jesus, angels, stuff like that, right? No, okay.
Because we already know that
we know what I'm about. Okay, so who is the most influential? Holy cow!
Even growing up, it could be a family member, it could be somebody that you've just looked up to.
See, as you guys know, we didn't prepare for these. Like I didn't prepare, so I didn't get the questions. It's good because it gives me a moment to like go through my database here in my brain and figure out who. There's been a lot of people.
I was going to say, it might not just be one person. I mean, for me, growing up, I never thought it was my mother, but I realize as you get older, oh my God, she's so, has influenced who I am today. But so kind of looking back, and we can come back to it, I'm sure there was several people.
There were several.
Another person for me was Oprah, which people are like, I don't understand. And that's a whole nother conversation for another time. But you must have been influenced. I mean, you are uber successful in what you do. You're an amazing individual. You've got a great family, a great core of friends and followers and whatnot. Did you think about this all on your own? Did you look up to anybody, not even in your own industry per se?
So I would say, so you had Oprah. I had she's now a born again Christian, but it was Doreen Virtue. She was big for me. So I don't know if I've heard of Doreen Virtue. She was big into the spiritual world. However, she changed her whole everything and went back to Christianity and said everything, like she lost everything. And so everyone has their reasons for doing, but she opened up my heart to like, and I've always been connected to Jesus, and I've been very close to God, and I've always prayed. I say the same prayer every day that I said when I was a little girl. You know what I mean? So it's just who I am. But she's opened up my ability to connect on a higher level, to connect with faith. And that's what, as a spiritual teacher myself, that's what I do is I teach my students is, if you're going to get into this line of work, you better have a good faith system, good core values, be a good, kind person. If you're going to be, connecting with spirituality, you're going to have to know how to be able to do it properly without harming anybody, right? And so sometimes the spiritual world, people get too much into ego and too much of like having to be a certain way or it can be very competitive, right? As you know, with any organization. And so I think Doreen Virtue, she had this calm demeanor about her that I really like. She really helped me. I've read tons, almost probably all of her books. I've read all of her books, done many of her meditations. So I still see her as like someone who has influenced me on a grand scale. And there's many other spiritual teachers that I've like studied through and I've learned and I read their books or, just watched them on live. But she would probably be my most in terms of like guiding me for spirituality. Now, in terms of like
personal, say somebody that
work ethic, my mom probably, like my mom, she's a workhorse. Like and I'll tell you a story. Friday, my parents called me and like, what are you doing? It was my doggy's birthday Friday, St. Patrick's Day, right? So what are you doing today? I said, it's Charlie's birthday. It's his first birthday. I'm going to go get a doggy cake. They're laughing at me like,
they're like, seriously, Lucy?
You want to go? I drove 45 minutes to pick up a doggy cake from my dog, right?
I love that.
And I said, and they're like, okay, well, what are you doing after? I said, well, I want to have a little party for him. And then they're laughing at me. And I'm like, well, this is, anyway. So they're like, come over for dinner. Your sister's come for dinner. I said, okay, well, we come for dinner. I come to dinner. My mom has a spread like no other. Like I look around at my husband. I'm like, is it Christmas?
I know. And they can just like whip it up like that. Oh, I just had something in the fridge.
I know. No, but my mom can't even walk. Like she's in so much pain. She's supposed to have like back surgery, knee surgery, all this stuff. And I'm like, how does this woman do this? And
isn't the answer she just does?
She just does it. And I'm like, why? I look and I'm like, she doesn't need to, because we're appreciative just even a plate of pasta and that's it. Like she had 2 different pastas, 10 different meats, vegetables. The pastas were 3 different pastas she had, because some kids don't like with the sauce or whatever. So I look at her and I say, she worked in a bakery for 40 plus years. She carried heavy stuff. She got burnt all the time in the bakery. She used to work many times in the evenings. In the day, she would watch kids during the day, including us, right? And then she would work at night till like 11 o'clock at night. And
the work ethic.
It's from my parents. My dad had 2 jobs. He was working 7 days a week for a long time. I would see him like work. He'd take a nap after work. He'd take a nap, and then he'd be out in the garden, working on the garden for like hours. So that needing to work and needing to move and
and not even the fact that maybe they sat you down and said, okay, so this should be the work ethic. They led by example.
Oh yeah, they led by example, and they never like made me feel like you need to like save and this and that. Like they just were like, we just are figuring it out. We're just trying to pay the bills. We're just, when you come from a family who's like needing to work because, we didn't have the extra money to go on these big vacations or like regular little fun things that maybe we do right now. You know what I mean? And so I'm very blessed to be able to like provide for my family, but I've worked hard. Like I started working very young. I worked in my mom's bakery. That was my first job.
Wow.
And so
how old were you?
16, I think, just shy of 16. But before that, we used to fold. Remember when they used to send newspapers out? I think they still do. Yeah.
Yeah. That was my first job too, was delivering newspapers. Yeah.
I remember that. We used to we had a old like pool table. So we would have all the newspapers over the pool table and we would just like fill them all in. And then my brother would deliver them. But sometimes we would walk with him to deliver as well too. But that was
you'd have to do the flyers. I remember they would deliver the newspaper and then the flyer
and then you put the flyers inside.
And the flyers were up to here. And it was just like, oh,
I know.
But you did. I don't even know if they still do that anymore. I think everything is so digital.
I still see they still do the flyers. They still send me the flyers.
Do they?
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel bad. It's like, don't even take it out of the bag. I just put it right into recycle.
Yeah,
right? But but it's okay. Like we still, I live in an older neighborhood, so there's a lot of elderly people. They still look forward to that. So, but yeah, that's what my worth ethic in terms of like working hard and working through the pain and as you know, like when you have surgery too, it's like you're like telling your brain, you better heal fast. Like you better heal fast. We better move forward and we're gonna work. And so I remember once I had a large group event booked. I think it was like 80 people, a group mediumship event, and I had an emergency surgery. And I was at the event like maybe the next week or the week after. Oh, wow. And people were looking at me like, "Didn't you just post that you had surgery?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Why didn't you cancel this?" Because I don't cancel. Because I just don't.
Yeah, because you just push through. But I think that's why women also have children, et cetera, because we've got that mindset where you just do. I mean, so many people ask me the same thing. How did you do this? And you had the boys all in rep hockey and da-da-da. I'm like, honestly, I don't even have an answer. I
don't know how these hockey moms or dads do it. I'm not gonna lie. Like I was at the arena yesterday and I'm looking at these parents like carrying in it and I'm like, they eat, breathe, sleep hockey. How do they do it?
Well, that was us, and they were all in high-level hockey.
Holy moly.
So 7 days a week, we'd be at a rink. Mm-hmm. It's divide and conquer. And, it's so funny, talk about winning the lottery. When our kids had a game at the same rink, that was the year highlight. Oh, my God, who cares if it's 4 hours apart?
Did you have all 3 in it at the same time?
4.
4, all of them at the same time?
Yeah.
Holy.
I know.
Yeah, it's just, I feel like you're just driving, disconnected, dropping them off here, driving, like just trying to like.
Yes and
you're
no.
You're floating.
Yes
you know
and
what I mean?
no. I'll tell you one thing. For me and for my kids and for our relationship, the best drive or the best thing about rep and about hockey, you'd always have to be there like 2 hours early. And a lot of times you'd have to drive far. Mm-hmm. Those were the best talks. Going there and going back, because when do you actually, when you've got more than one child, have the time to sit and talk?
Yeah.
Now I'm not saying every talk was, rainbows and unicorns. Sometimes it was like, right, but most of the time, those were the days that we really cherished. It sounds ridiculous.
Nope.
But, it's the time that you actually are in a confined spot and you're able to.
It's quiet.
And it's quiet. And you don't have necessarily everybody with you. So, yeah, but it is crazy hectic. And it's funny because some of the hockey teams that we were on, the parents are amazing. We still have relationships with them to this day. But I'll tell you, I missed out on a lot. Because a lot of times, like, my third son's team was so incredibly close, and a lot of times they would go for like a mom's weekend getaway, and they'd do spa, and they'd be.
Lucky.
I would be the only one not going.
Oh, because
and I'm like, I'm sorry, 4 kids, and we had 3 or 4, I think 4 people, 4 families that had 4 kids. Like 4 kids and 4 kids in hockey.
Wow.
And they could all go, and they had careers. So I think it's just different when you're an entrepreneur. When you own your own business, because you don't leave it at 5 or 6 o'clock, right?
No. My husband was saying, why don't we go away, like in the summer or something, go away for like a month. And I'm looking at him like, are you like, he's like, you can do virtual sessions and stuff. I go, yeah, but like, that's a long time.
That's my husband too. He's trying to push me for a week, a month. Are you kidding me?
I know. He was like, you could do it. I'm like, yeah, okay, buddy. Sorry.
You're like, not happening.
That's a month with the kids straight, first of all, right?
Oh, yes.
And so that's the other thing. But
lock yourself in the bathroom for alone time. That would be it, right?
I'd be at the beach with my laptop, probably like just doing stuff and just like creating stuff, doing things, doing lives.
So is that, that this is sort of one other question I wanted to ask you. What's your biggest fear, personally or professionally? What's your biggest fear? I could share my biggest fear. Spiders. Spiders.
So I don't like spiders. Yeah, I don't like spiders. Did you ever see videos from Australia?
I try to avoid them. I had a server the other day that had a big, huge, tarantula on a tattoo. And I was like, oh, nice tattoo. Because obviously, I'm tatted. And she's like, oh, yeah, these are my friends. She has 7 tarantulas at home, pet ones, that crawl all over her.
Oh, gross.
And then continue to whatever. And I was just like,
no.
I hope she washed her hands before she was serving us, because I'm like, all I could think of is spider hair and stuff. And she was like, well, 3 of them I can't play with because they'll bite you and they're poisonous. And I'm like, why would one have that pet? And I'm sorry for the spider lovers, but, maybe other people think, why would you have a Frenchie? But
true. They're so loud. Like I went for a walk with him yesterday and they were petting and they're like, he's really loud. He sounds like a pig. And I'm like,
people say that to me too.
And I'm like, yeah. And I said to my husband, I'm like, I think we're just used to it. Like you just.
Sometimes yes and sometimes no. I noticed, because I take her around with me a lot, and I'll be driving. And some people will, it was a client actually that said to me, is that your husband sleeping? And I'm like, where? And I'm trying to look around, like, where is he sleep? And I went, oh, you can hear that? She's like, oh, yeah. And a few times when I've called my kids and she's snoring, it's like, oh, my God.
So imagine she's still like snoring after the surgery?
After her NARS surgery, yeah.
She's still?
Not as badly, but still a lot. And it's funny, but I think she's put on a couple of pounds because she hasn't been that active, in winter or whatever. And because of her illness, as soon as she puts on a few pounds, but she did the NARS and the soft palate surgery. So it's a lot better, but still not 100%. So back to your fear.
Spiders, I don't like spiders. It's always been something that's like I'll freak out. I remember being a little kid and seeing, I don't know what type of spider this was. It must have been like an alien spider or something. But
the hairy ones that are like this big.
It was lit up. It had lights. It had a light on it. I remember vividly.
I think somebody was playing a trick on you with like a robot spider.
No, this was a spider in the car. So we had family from Italy, and we were all squished in the car. Back then you didn't wear seatbelts. Okay, so we were all like kind of squished in the car.
It was one of these.
Hold on. And I remember seeing this thing crawling with lights coming off of it, and I screamed the top. And I imagine I just jumped on them, and they were like freaking out on me, but like I couldn't control it. Yeah. So I don't like spiders. Those centipede things. Oh my God.
The million-legged things in the bathtub. Yeah, my God, that can run faster than your Frenchie. Yeah,
and you can smash it, and half of it will still be going.
Anyways, I was thinking like, oh, what's your biggest fear? Like I was thinking.
Well, you brought up insects, so those are okay. So
true as that. But I meant like, do you have like a fear?
I don't know if I have like a fear. Like I don't know.
Nothing holds you back.
Not really.
That's great.
No, because when you start learning to be like, when you're able to pull the wool over everything and be like, it's just this, it's just that, you know, you grow up having to be fearful of your parents, fearful of your teachers, fearful of wherever, fearful of the government, you know, and then you're able to intuitively pick up on like what is really going on behind the doors. Why are they acting this way? What's the reasoning for it? Then you have a better understanding of people, that people will be a certain way because they're going through something as well too, right?
That's true.
And so it's like, yeah, it's just, and I see it with myself too. Sometimes like you're overworked, you're tired, and you take your stuff out on your family. You know what I mean? You start freaking out, and they only see that part of it.
We never do that.
Never. I know, eh?
Just kidding. Okay,
but
sorry.
No,
go on.
No, but that's the thing. Like you have something going on inside of you. People just see the worst part of you and make assumptions, right? So we don't really know what's going on with somebody, and sometimes
you don't know what somebody's going through.
Yeah,
essentially.
Yeah. So, but it's good. Like I don't know if I would say I have fear, but I know for me, like, I don't know. I wouldn't say fear. I don't have anything like.
I love that. Yeah, you seem fearless. I just didn't know if there was anything. But spiders that's another thing we have in common.
It is what it is. Like, again, I could work through that and just allow it to like crawl all over me, just breathe through it and get like if I had to.
You know,
work
that's what they
it.
do to desensitize people through their fears and stuff. But I'm happy being afraid of spiders. There will be no crawling for me in my immediate future.
In actuality, what can they do? What can they do? Right?
I know. If
gross,
it gives you the
weird.
creepy crawlers and what, like now you have to kill them. It was funny when my kids were smaller. Yeah. I'd be like $5, whoever can, catch it. Because I don't even like to kill them per se.
Me too.
And so they would put a cup over it. They'd let it crawl. They're like, look, Mommy, it's fine. I'm like, yes. Oh, you're so brave. No, get the hell outside, right?
Bring it out. Yeah.
So there was that. So could you share with me, what was one of your biggest failures? If you feel like you can share that, and what did you do to kind of get through that obstacle? Because there's obstacles, right?
One of the failures that imagine I've spent so much time studying child development. I am a former early childhood educator.
Yes.
I went to school for that. I did several years in that. I did a lot of general arts and science programs as well too, to understand sociology, psychology, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And then I did a supervision administration because I wanted to open up my own childcare center. Like I was invested in childcare. I worked with special needs children for many years. I've even done some additional programs. Yeah. So when it came to, sorry, Lucy, you can't have kids, that was something that really like messed with me. And so, trying for several years, I have a condition called endometriosis. And so I always knew it may be an issue, but I didn't realize until it was time to try. And so we were trying for quite some time.
How long?
A few years, maybe a year or so. I can't remember, about a year probably. And I had surgery to remove some of the overgrown cells of on the lining of my uterus lining and stuff. And so that didn't seem to help. But when I look back at this, it's like, it's puts you in a place of being very blessed to have children. So imagine for many years, thousands of dollars, because when I was going through it, they didn't have the funding like they have now.
Yeah, it was all private.
Yeah. So we, imagine newlywed, we have a new home, we're just we've merged our finances together to try to make things work. And what was happening is it was just literally trying to pay for this, and you're doing it in quiet because you don't want your family to know, right? You don't want people to know. You don't want people to stress out about it as well, or put it in more energy. Then that puts
more stress onto you and whatever.
So but that's the failure was this isn't fair. That I've spent my whole life pretty much helping other people's children, being there for other people's kids, supporting families, and I have to go through this. So that was, at that time, I felt like I was a failure, like I was failing. until, you know, I had my my oldest Bella, and I found like, okay, I got this. And then there's going to be moments where you're like, you have the mom guilt, you know, where it's like, I shouldn't be failing. I shouldn't be failing as a parent.
So we had to take a little mini break because
a lot of distractions.
Because phones were going off, cameras were overheating.
I kept seeing you twitching too, and twitching
really?
like almost like getting a little bit of a chill. It's typically when spirit energy starts making its way, and when I start yawning and stuff, or I feel like the energy shifting in the room, it's usually when spirit. So I am going to be honest with you, and I said let's record it, and then I'll tell you what I'm feeling. I feel that your father's coming through right now in this podcast. And so are you okay if I connect with him? I'm
absolutely.
So I'm familiar with his energy, you know that, right? So I don't have to.
I sure do.
Usually I go through, like I ask him questions and stuff, but I hear him saying, he says he wants to say it live on camera to you that he's very proud of you. And
see, now my eyelashes are going to fall off. Thanks, Lucy.
No problem. Thank you, Dad.
Yeah.
But he wanted to come in and just really like just point around the room and say, you know, he's very proud with everything that you both have accomplished, including with Matt as well too. Everything that you guys have accomplished, and he's saying like, you know, just give it another 4 more podcasts. I don't know what that means. So give it another 4 more podcasts. So maybe you'll
think I might know what it means.
You
but
might
time
know.
will tell.
Yeah, you'll know at that time. Does this podcast count?
Yes.
So he says 4, this one and another 3 more. So 4, he says.
And you know, you and I have these conversations all the time. The number 4 keeps coming up for me continuously. I mean, for years, for decades. And I was trying to figure out, okay, you know, and then I'm finally like, okay, 4 kids, or it'd be overtime and, you know, at hockey, and it'd be 4-4 with 4 minutes and 44 seconds left. And I'm like, what is going on with I constantly see
4s usually represent
4s.
a lot of angels around you. Okay. So it means a lot of angels are guiding you, protecting you, and surround you. And they're hearing your prayers, right? Hearing your call out for them. So 4s typically represent that. And so your dad's saying to me, like, your big break is coming in about 4 more. So there's something from that. Yeah. So he just says,
awesome.
He's apologizing to everybody for interrupting this podcast, but he says this is the reality of when you do sometimes podcasts with Lucy or live with Lucy's, because I'm open to it. They want to come through and, you know, just a special guest. We had a special guest in this podcast,
my
right?
dad, Laszlo.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I'm always so curious. And when you and I talk and we talk about kind of our past, I realized very young, because, you know, I'm also intuitive, that there's no such thing as coincidence. I mean, I think you can sort of say, oh, I was just thinking about, you know, Gina, and she just happened to, you know, call me, you know, 3 months later, whatever the case may be. But I'll share a story with you. I don't think I've ever shared with you before. My grandmother passed away. She was a very big force in our life, essentially raised us. She was my father's mom, and her name was Anna. And she had passed away. She left Hungary. My dad brought her to actually look after us, me and my sister. And when I say a big force, she was like a very big woman. She was scary. She was probably 6'2", you know, old school. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And she would, you know, come on the bus. You could never give her anything. You know, she'd bring her own food to our house. And it was kind of like, we have food here. No, I don't take anything. But she had separated from her husband, which, I mean, she was born in 09, I think, or 1902, excuse me. So they didn't believe in divorce, but he cheated on her, and she was kind of like, screw you, I'm out of here, I'm going to Canada. Fine. So she passed away, and something had happened before that, but not as big as this. But this was, and I was 15 at the time. And it just proved, it was evidence that spirit and angel, God, your higher power, whatever you want to refer to it at, was at work. I came home from school. I think it was first or second year of high school. Nobody was home. Opened the door, and I had a German Shepherd at the time, and it was a back split. I opened the door, and at the top, as soon as you open the door, there's the top of the stairs. And the dog was standing there. It was exactly 1 week after she passed, and she was just growling at something around the corner. Of course, I'm freaking out because I'm thinking, you know, stranger danger. And, you know, we didn't have cell phones at the time, so I couldn't call anybody. And the rotary phone was up the stairs. So I was kind of creeping around. I figured she would have maybe attacked whoever was there, but she was just growling. Fine. I look around the corner. My dad had taken, you know, those old wooden, they used to keep the liquor in those kind of, it was kind of like an end table thing. And it had a big vase like this on it all of this was my grandmother's. There was a crow, I kid you not, bigger than the vase, sitting
in your house?
Yes. Nobody believed me, but hold on, because somebody saw it. I was not doing any kind of mind-altering anything. It was there.
Wow.
So I'm freaking out, and I call my mom. I'm like, Granny's in the house. She's like, what the hell's the matter with you? What do you mean Granny's in the house? And I'm like, there's a crow. There's a crow. And as I'm talking and freaking out, the crow comes and sits on... So I'm in the kitchen kind of looking out. There's patio doors, and it was sitting on the chair. And you know when birds see, like, windows and they're trapped, they try to fly. It sat on the chair my grandmother used to sit on, turned around, and was just looking outside.
Wow.
And looking at me, looking outside. Now I'm freaking out. And I'm, like, convinced. So finally I call one of my friends. His name was Brian. And he comes over. And sure enough, so now the crow, as I'm run downstairs, I open the door. I'm like, okay, it's in my grandmother's chair. It's my grandmother. And the crow's gone.
Wow.
And so I'm sitting at the top of the stairs. The story's not done yet. So I'm sitting at the top of the stairs waiting to see, because he's looking for the thing. He's like, okay, I found it. It's coming downstairs. It flew. So we had all the doors open. It flew right over my head because I was at the top of the stairs. The front door was open. It stopped in front of the open door, which normally birds would just fly out. Turned around, looked at me, and flew away.
Wow.
At this, I'm freaking out. So that evening, my parents come home. They're like, oh, you crazy. It's not that. Just a little sparrow came in through the fireplace. I'm like, this was a big-ass crow. There was no...
You know the difference between a crow and a sparrow.
Correct. 5 minutes after they got home, we got a call that my grandfather had passed away.
Oh, wow.
Which was my grandma's, like, I guess.
Ex-husband. Yeah. Wow.
Exactly 1 week, exactly when the crow. So evidence.
Ooh, got goosebumps from my whole body. That's crazy.
So maybe they're going to show up too. Wow. But anyways, so that for me was one of many, many, many incidences that just are way too coincidental. When did you know?
That's not even coincidental. That is like, that's more beyond that, right? To have a crow like that. And 100%. You know what's funny? Last night I was walking my dog, and all these crows, and sometimes crows can telepathically communicate with me, started flying over me, and I knew it was trying to get my attention. My dog even looked up, and I said, well, there's something to be with the crows.
Seriously?
And now you're telling me the story. So yeah, that's coincidental. But not to have a crow. Like that's a clear sign.
True,
right?
But then it's also so obvious and evident that you do have that gift.
Yeah. And
so when did you realize, like were you super young?
I was very young. I saw the world very differently than, other people.
What's young? I'm just curious.
Like a little kid. Like
4 or 5.
4 or 5, younger than that. And I tell this story all the time with my mom, like, she worked in the bakery, so she used to cut herself a lot, or like her hand be burned. I could feel like her pain in her hand. Like I could feel, it would be like I'm hurting when she would have that, when I would see it.
Because you guys are so connected.
It's not even just being connected. It's being able to have the ability to feel other people's ailments, which is what I have, right? And so when I have someone who comes in who wants to speak to their departed loved one, and let's say they had like an issue in their stomach, I would start feeling the pain, like physical pain. And then I would ask my spiritual team, what is this from? And then they could show me like cancer, or they would show me some type of leakage, or like whatever. But I would feel it first, and then I'd be able to start seeing things, and then have a better understanding. So I was feeling at a very young, that's my first thing, is through feelings. And so there's people that have the ability to see apparitions and spirits. I see them in my mind. So I was seeing stuff in my mind, and as a kid, you're like, it's your imagination. It's whatever. It's, I just watched this movie. This is what it is. But
you sort of talked it away, per se.
You talk it away. Yeah. It's nothing, right? But as you get older, you're like, wait a minute. I'm reading all these books, and this is part of like spirit communication. And I remember like being a young teen and showering, and that's when I would get like faces coming in my mind, like all these, like I'm like, why would I think of this face? I don't even know who this face is, right? So spirit was able to connect with me mostly when I find like I was cleansing, clearing, when I was calm, and that's when I was showering, and I would just get the flashes in my mind. And I said, okay, they're obviously trying to connect. And I remember vividly, like, it's time for me to start tapping into this a little bit more. You know what I mean? And
because you weren't freaked out by it. Some people would be like, "Oh my God, I can't." You
do
this is
get
black magic. This is whatever. But you had this sort of.
Well, you get
like
freaked out because
calm surrender, though. Almost.
Sometimes you do get freaked out because you would see like a weird image in your head, and you're like, "What is this? I don't like. This is a little bit freaky. This image is a little bit scary." Like I've had scary incidences that has happened to me. You know what I mean? Maybe we'll save it for another podcast. But I've had some like scary stuff that's happened, and it's just like.
Well, now you've got to give an example.
Well, okay. So I'll give you a PG example. Okay.
Please.
So I have like when I would shower, I would see like a demonic face started morphing in my mind's eye, and right away I would feel like sick to my stomach, like something's trying to psychically attack me or affect my mind. And at that point I would be like, I would just start praying. I would start reciting the Our Father prayer, Hail Mary prayer, glory be to the Father. I'd say, Jesus is my Father. I would just start rebuking in the name of Jesus, rebuking this, and then it would just like disappear. So I knew the power of prayer, how powerful prayer was, because I knew this dark thing realized that I could see. Like I could see departed loved ones. You can see the good,
but you can also see the evil.
And it realized it. And so the thing is, I had to learn how to, okay, if I have the ability to see, and I'm meant to heal people, and I'm meant to connect people and help people to heal, I need to know how to protect myself. I need to know the ability of and the power of prayer. Right? I need to make sure that my temple, which is my body, is healthy and it's strong. And, I don't smoke, I don't drink, I've had to really change what goes in my body and have an understanding that as you clear your body and protect your body, that dark stuff won't have a fighting chance. And so that's what I teach my students is if you're going to do this work and you're serious about it and you are able to hone in on your abilities and your gift, then you'll be able to help many people, right? But if you have to understand there is that darkness that's attached to that as well too. And if you start getting into ego and to greed and to doing this to harm people or using your gift to manipulate, that will give power to the other. Right? So we have free will where we want it to go, how we want to be. So
where you want your energy to be?
Where you want your energy to be and how you want to help humanity. So if you're helping humanity in a different way, where it is out of harming other people or greed or whatever, then you're saying that I'm okay with this. I'm okay with what comes, the consequences that come with that, right? And so when you work with God and you work with your angels and you work with your spiritual team, it's a little bit slower, because when I see people who connect with that dark, who have the ability to connect with the dark, things move fast, and maybe they're financially more stable, they have more money, but there's a lot of like trauma and pain and suffering and anger and hate and sickness that comes with that. But you can be with God. You can go down the slower route. You can be successful too. You can be the slower route. Maybe you don't have 1 billion followers, like whatever. But at the same point too, is you are learning to be humble. You're learning that your needs are taken care of. You have a house over your head. You have roof over your head. You have food on the table. Maybe you're not. And I've had opportunities. I'm not gonna lie. To be on TV, to be in the public eye, to, do much more. And I'm like,
this didn't feel right for you.
This isn't of God. This is of their ego, their success, their whatever, which has an underlying root to it. And so I go by, have to feel right. So I could be doing podcasts forever. And then all of a sudden God says, we're done. And I have to be done.
Yeah.
And that's it. And I could have an expectation of making so much money for so many years, and that could be taken away like that, because God's in charge, and God has always protected me and has always given me the ability to be successful. And success doesn't just come in financial. It's never been financial. It's been I am blessed to have a husband that's with me through all my sicknesses and my surgeries and my car accidents. He's been there for me. He's helped me. Right.
And he helps you with the business,
nonstop.
Supports you with the kids. And
like everything. I just made him put up 100 certificates on my new space, and he's like, no other man will do this. I'm like, yeah, they'll do it. But he's like, yeah, your man maybe. Yeah.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, very few.
Right. And so you as long as you stay humble and you keep yourself, because you're going to have distractions that are going to try to get you off path. And I always check in with God and say, what do you think? Is this the best for me? Will this provide me with good health, with financial stability, with abundance in all forms? Will, is it going to harm anybody, me being involved in anything like this or working with these people? I always have to check in with them first. Sometimes I get too excited and I'm like, yeah, let's do this. And then after I'm like, oh shit, I forgot to check in. And then they're telling me something different, and they're saying, you know what, Lucy, this isn't probably the best thing for you. This is what it could look like. And I'm like, oh, now I got to disappoint people. You know what I mean?
But I mean, you always, the way that I see you from business and personal, your intent is always authentic.
You try to be, right? Because I want authenticity to me. That's what I want for me.
Right. But you're saying because you live by that, if your spiritual team tells you otherwise, you're going with the spiritual team.
100%.
I love that.
100%. So like I said, they can flip the switch on me and say, you've done
with no reason.
Yeah, you've done your 5-year lease here. You're done working at this place. It's time to move on to the next big adventure. And it's like, okay, guide me. It's scary. It's uncomfortable, but that everything has been scary and uncomfortable, from starting from taking clients into my home to starting off in a half of a unit to getting my whole unit to getting like a double unit now. Like this is what I've been dealing with. And they said, we got you, we'll support you. You know, it's all good.
And you've trusted. But I mean, I think anytime you do anything big or brave or scary or you grow, it is that growth does hurt.
It does hurt, yeah.
Right? And there is a sort of an element of, let's say, the unknown or the fear, but you've always trusted your inner voice, which is the way that I lead as well. Yeah. I think it's so important.
You have to know yourself. You have to know who your higher self is, right? Which is it's that voice inside of you. It's God. It's that side of you is saying, like, this is best for Lucy Basso. This is what's best for you. All right. And if it's best for you and your family, it's best for the humanity as a whole, because I'm of service to God first and foremost. So if God takes me out today and says your time is done, I'm hoping he'd be proud of me for the amount of stuff that I've done.
I think so.
About people. Right. But they're always going to want to like challenge you to say, you can do more. You can help more. You can, you know what I mean? But he won't give you things that you're not capable of doing. He's going to always try to guide you out of your comfort zone. So it's going to be, you completed this level, next, what's the next thing, right? I've been working in Mississauga, Ontario and the GTA area for a long time, servicing all around. It may be my 5-year lease is up and something big comes and I'm starting to...
And we're all moving to Florida.
Yeah, I know. Or you're traveling. Your information, your energy, your aura, your light has to be of service to everywhere else, right? To help more people. So
That's where I am.
Yeah. Right. And you have to listen to that, as scary as it is. Right.
You have to be confident enough, I think, and fearless enough to 100%. Listen to your inner voice.
But you're the vessel. So your body has to be healthy. That's the hardest thing.
I know.
It's always that challenge, especially 100%. When you love food. And we talked about this before in our last,
talking about food. I love food. I wake up. What am I going to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
I know. Every morning.
It's a European thing. I'm convinced, but we won't even get into the food. No. That for sure. We'll go to a restaurant and that will be a whole nother podcast all in its own. Yeah. So just to kind of finish off what you were saying, one of my favorite quotes, as you know, since I tatted it on my body, is the struggle is part of the story.
100%.
Do you have a favorite quote?
No, I don't know if I have a favorite quote.
Twice she doesn't know an answer.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't. No, but
because
you know what?
You have so many great things like that. I know I personally and your students have learned from you. So is there something?
Be kind.
Be a good human.
Yeah. You just be kind, work hard, be kind. Be kind, work hard. That's it.
I love that. Yeah, that's what I figured it would be something along there.
Yeah.
So in closing, what's next for Lucy? I know you've just done some big things, but I also know you as a person and as an entrepreneur. There's always something. Do you have?
I got to write a book.
I
have to write a book. They've been telling me for years, my spiritual team, to write a book. And it's like, but when? But how? Where do I start? How do I start? You know, and it's just, and I've had people offer to write chapters in books and stuff. And my angels are like, it's great that we're guiding you, we're getting you prepped, but you have to write your own book, Lucy.
Yeah.
You're not going to be a chapter in someone else's book. So, and that's the next thing, is writing my own book. I really need to talk about my fertility journey. I need to write it down. I've had a lot of those synchronicities, those epiphanies, those weird signs, a lot of stuff that has happened during my journey to keep me motivated, and which has it's been a blessing in disguise, because I've worked with so many people who have fertility issues, because I know what they're going through. I even know the medications that they're taking and stuff too, certain fertility specialists. And so being able to have the opportunity to do fertility, understand fertility, the trials and errors of it, I'm able to help people really, really just get through it. And so if I put in a book, it might just help on a grander scale. But
I think so too. I mean, and that's part of it. You look back, many generations behind us, they never had TVs, they never had radio, they had nothing. The way they learned was through sharing and storytelling, right? Yeah. So I think that's awesome. I can't wait.
Yeah, and it gives people hope to say, man, she's an older mom. She even had endometriosis on her side. You know what I mean? And here she is. She's able to have kids. She didn't give up. And I told God,
how old were you? Sorry, when you had your first?
In mid-30s.
Mid-30s.
Yeah. Yeah, and then imagine 6 years later, I have a little one.
But a lot of people are giving birth later.
Yeah. Well,
right.
With the new medicine, new everything, right? We're gonna start living longer too, which is another thing. So
absolutely.
But your bones still ache a little bit.
Yeah, rolling out of that bed, right? 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Thank you so much again for joining us. It's always a pleasure.
It's a pleasure being here, and I love talking to you as always.
Thank you. Say bye to my dad, too.
Bye. Yeah, he just blew a kiss to you. So thank you.